Most advertising that wins awards loses sales. Most advertising that sells effectively wins no awards. That is not a coincidence. It's a structural problem with how the industry evaluates its own work. Creative awards reward novelty, craftsmanship, aesthetic surprise. Sales reward psychological alignment with how the brain actually makes decisions. The two are different games. And somehow, after decades of evidence, the industry keeps playing the wrong one and wondering why the results do not show up. I've spent 20 years on the agency side. I have watched campaigns celebrated at industry events that produced nothing in the market. And I have watched quieter campaigns that nobody wrote about move significant numbers in revenue. The difference was never the craft. The difference was whether the campaign was working with the buyer psychology or against it. In the next 9 minutes, I will show you the 4 psychological mechanisms that separate advertising that actually works from advertising that just looks good. By the end, you will know what to look for in your own marketing and what to push back on when an agency hands you something that sounds clever but will not move anything. Most marketers think advertising is about creative expression, but that is the wrong mental model. Advertising is uncertainty resolution. Every purchase carries risk. Will it work? Will I regret this? Will I look smart or foolish choosing this? Great advertising answers those questions before the buyer fully formulates them. Bad advertising tries to be impressive and leaves the questions hanging. The advertising that gets remembered is not the most creative. It is the advertising that resolves enough uncertainty for the buyer to commit. That might sound boring, but it is the entire game. 4 mechanisms do the resolution work. Once you can name them, you can see exactly why some ads land and others simply drown in the feed. Mechanism 1. Uncertainty reduction. Every purchase is a small bet. The buyer is risking time, money, or reputation on the assumption that the product will deliver what was promised. The brain does not enjoy that bet. It's constantly looking for shortcuts to reduce the perceived risk before committing. Reviews from other buyers, authority signals, familiar brand cues, money-back guarantees, recognizable people endorsing the choice. Each shortcut lowers the risk feeling slightly. Great advertising treats this risk feeling as the actual problem to solve. The product features are secondary. The buyer is constantly asking, is this safe to choose? The advertising's job is to answer that question convincingly. If your advertising spends most of its weight on what the product does and very little on why the choice is safe, you have left the buyer with their risk feeling intact. They might admire the work, but they will not act on it. And before you say your product is different and people just need to understand what it does, no. They do not need to understand it. They need to feel safe choosing it. Those are not the same conversation. Mechanism 2. Identity alignment. People do not buy products. They buy signals about who they are. Coca-Cola figured this out before anyone else. None of their campaigns describe the product. They describe the kind of person who drinks Coke and what choosing Coke says about them. The product became almost incidental. The identity became the purchase. This is why identity-based advertising outperforms feature-based advertising in nearly every category. The buyer's brain is always running an internal question. Is this for me? Does this match the person I am or want to become? When advertising answers that question with a yes, resistance drops sharply. Service business marketing almost never works at this level. Most of it describes the service, a list of deliverables, a process, a methodology. And then the founder is confused about why nobody is responding. But they are responding. They are scrolling past because nothing in the copy told them it was for them specifically. If your buyer cannot see themselves in your advertising, they are not choosing you, regardless of how strong the product is. Mechanism number 3. Emotion, then logic. The brain processes decisions through 2 systems running in parallel. A fast emotional system that reacts before conscious thought, and a slow rational system that analyzes and justifies after the fact. Emotion captures attention, logic justifies the decision. Reverse the order, and the message collapses. Apple's Think Different campaign worked because it landed emotionally first. By the time anyone considered specifications or prices, the emotional decision had already been made. Logic just needed to defend it. Advertising that leads with rational arguments Feature lists or spec comparisons tries to bypass the emotional system entirely, but the brain treats it as homework. It might respect the argument, but it rarely acts on it. Here's the thing most B2B marketers have not accepted yet. Your buyers are not more rational than consumer buyers. They are the same people making the same emotionally driven decisions and then writing the rational justification into a procurement document afterwards. The procurement document is not a decision. It is the paperwork for a decision that was already made. Lead with emotion, follow with logic, in that order, every time. Mechanism 4. Meaning over features. In saturated markets, products are functionally similar. Specifications cluster. Prices cluster. Features get copied within months. Competing on features in a saturated market is a race to the bottom. The moment you build an advantage, a competitor copies it. So you build another one, and they copy that. And at some point, you are spending significant money to maintain advantages that are gone before the campaign that announced them has finished running. Meaning is harder to copy. Patagonia ran an ad that said, "Don't buy this jacket." The ad sold more jackets than a straightforward feature-based campaign would ever have. And it's not because of reverse psychology, because the ad communicated what the brand stands for, and meaning attaches to memory in a way features never do. Features explain. Meaning resonates. Features get processed analytically and forgotten. Meaning gets stored emotionally and gets recalled when relevant. For service businesses, the question is simple, and most people avoid answering it honestly. What does your work actually mean to the buyer? Not what it delivers. What does it stand for? If the answer is good quality work at a fair price, you do not have a meaning problem. You have an avoidance problem. These 4 mechanisms are neutral. They're how the brain processes decisions. Marketers do not create them. Marketers either work with them or fight them. The ethical question is what your marketing does with them. Uncertainty reduction, used to communicate genuine proof points, helps the buyer make a confident decision. Uncertainty reduction, used to fabricate social proof, exploits the same mechanism. Identity alignment, used to connect a real product to a real aspiration, is honest. Identity alignment, used to attach a fantasy to a product that will not deliver on it, is alone. The buyer eventually fills the gap, and that gap costs significantly more than the short-term conversion was worth. The line here is not whether you use these mechanisms. The line here is whether you are using them to clarify the value you actually deliver or to obscure the gaps in it. Here's what you can do today. Pull up your most recent marketing output. A homepage hero, a sales page, a campaign ad, a LinkedIn post that pitched something. Read it once. Ask which of the 4 mechanisms it is using. Uncertainty reduction, identity alignment, emotion then logic, or meaning over features. If you cannot clearly identify one, that output is running on craft alone. Clever copy without a psychological engine underneath it. Pick the mechanism your buyer most needs right now, and rewrite the output to lead with that instead. It might not look more creative afterwards, but it will perform better.